Lie down on your backs, please. And imagine that you're lying on sand. And I want you to really feel and sense the imprint of the back of your head in the sand. That point on the back of your head that would sink in the deepest into the sand. And those other places that are making an imprint, kind of a crater for the back of your head, but there are varying depths of how far your head is sinking. And then bring your attention to the back of the right shoulder and the shoulder blade. And really sense, trace with your mind the imprint of the back of your shoulder, your right shoulder. The parts that are going to sink deeper, the parts that are touching and leaving an impression but not as deeply as the part that feels maybe the heaviest or the most weight. Parts that are just brushing the top of the sand. There may be parts, particularly the tip of your shoulder, that isn't even touching. And then follow with this attention over to the left shoulder and shoulder blade, feeling the kind of imprint your left shoulder is making on the sand. And see if you can observe differences. If you were really to look at, let's say you were able to lie down in the sand and lift yourself up perfectly evenly, would those imprints be completely symmetrical on the right or left sides, or can you begin to appreciate some of the quite normal and natural asymmetries of the impression that the back of you is making on this imaginary sand? And then feel the back of your middle ribs. Again, the right and left sides. One side might be touching a little more, making more solid of an imprint. A bigger, larger space touching. And follow down into your low back, which usually arches away from the floor, arches away from this imaginary sand. And see if you can sense if one side of your low back is actually a little closer to the floor than the other side. If somebody were to shove some sand under that arch in your low back, which side would need a little more sand, a little more support because it's arched further away? And then feeling the back of your pelvis, which is in pretty solid contact, and really feeling the impression of the right side of your pelvis, that point that's going to sink deepest into the sand, and then those parts that are touching but not sinking quite so deeply. Notice if the impression is greater, if it's wider, higher, deeper on one side than the other side. And just notice also your legs, your right and left leg. Does one leg touch more in the floor than the other leg? Usually there's a little more pressure through your heel, so it might be easier to notice if one heel has a little more of an imprint into this sand than the other heel. And you can also notice usually one foot rolls out a little more than the other foot, so that would certainly change the shape of your imprint. And then noticing also your arms resting to your side, and just have a sense of the weight of each arm. How heavy does your left arm feel, and your right arm? Does each arm feel like it's the same length? Does one arm maybe feel a little longer or shorter? And again, sense the imprints, the back of your upper arms, the difference between your right and left elbows. Which fingers on one hand are touching or brushing against this sand compared to the other side? And just one or two times, raise your right arm up just an inch or two and plop it back down. And just feel the weight of that right arm, the amount of effort it takes to lift your right arm. What do you use up in your shoulder, your neck, your chest? How is that arm? Lift the whole arm up from elbow to. What tenses or contracts for that motion? And then compare it to the left arm. Excellent. Good. And just rest those arms. Bring your attention to your breathing. And what part of you feels the influence of the breath? Air entering the lungs, the diaphragm gently pressing down into your lower abdomen. For some of you, you'll feel an abdominal breathing where your lower abdomen extends a little bit forward. Others of you, you'll feel the ribs in your chest lifting and lowering. And just feel where that breath is in you now. And slowly, please, one leg at a time, draw your knees up so that your feet are flat, standing through your feet. And find a real comfortable place for your feet. Don't assume that the first place that you set your feet is actually providing the most stability and balance with the least amount of effort. So play around with either having your feet closer or further apart, or closer or further from your hips and buttocks. And find that place where they're really not needing to fall in or fall out, but they feel your knees are fairly well balanced over your feet. Your breath is easy. And then bring your attention to your left arm, please, and have it resting at your side if it's not already. And just slowly begin experimenting with turning your whole arm in and out. So palm up, palm down. And just feel that movement. Feel it in your hand and wrist, your elbow, all the way up into your upper arm, your shoulder. And as those bones are moving in the flesh of your arm, see if anything else is being influenced past the shoulder joint. Is there a subtle movement happening in your shoulder blade or your collarbone or your ribs? Does the rest of the body know that something's happening in the arm? And just grow that movement a little bit so that each time you roll your palm up, you slide your arm just a little bit out to the side, keeping it in full contact with the floor. And as you roll it down, you slide it a little closer towards your hip and leg. And as you move your arm, you may notice a little more happening in your shoulder blade, your ribs and your neck. Just feel that connection. And then next time your arm is resting at your side in your starting position, just pause there for a moment. And notice if just these few little movements have started to create sensory distinction from your left arm to your right arm. As you've brought your attention to softly and gently moving your left arm, as you lie here, now is your perception different of the weight, the length, the tension or relaxation in one arm compared to the other? Or has anything changed in the back of your shoulder blades and how they're touching the floor or making their impression in the sand? And then continue that movement of rolling the arm up and to the side just a little. It doesn't need to go up to the side very much at all. But each time you roll it down and towards your pelvis, your leg, bring it a little closer until you're really touching your side. And let your hand experience the touch of your body. So as you draw that hand closer to yourself, you might actually caress the outside of your thigh and actually begin to bring that hand up a little bit towards the top of your thigh and pelvis. And then bring it back down to the floor, opening palm up and out to the side a little bit. And as you move your hand out and bring it in closer to your body, notice how you're breathing. Is there any point where you hold your breath a little bit, or you're so focused on your hand and the sensations of your hand with your body that somehow just instinctually you've learned to restrict your breath or clench your jaw? And see if you can keep all that free and easy. And just continue growing the movement of your hands, starting to come up your thigh and across your lower abdomen. So eventually you're touching your lower abdomen and just crossing your hand across below your belly button. And you're moving in such a way so that as your hand and arm meet your body, you're never actually having to use effort in your shoulder or your neck to lift your arm, but you're really letting your body support your arm as it comes in contact with you. Your elbow might bend a little bit, and then you cross it across your pelvis over towards the right hip. And then you bring it back down and you let the floor fully support it. And you might just pause for a minute each time you bring it to the ground. Each time feeling what else in your body knows that something's happening in your arm. As we hold our muscles in habitual patterns that feel normal, they feel like they are who we are. But those holding patterns restrict the skeleton from moving naturally with input and impulses from other movements in the skeleton. So as your hand, your elbow, your upper arm move, how much of your shoulder blade, your collarbone, your ribs, your sternum can sense the ripples of effect through them. You might even begin to notice your neck softening. Your head might want to turn a little bit as your hand crosses to the left, across your trunk, and continue growing this movement, taking it across your trunk to the left side and up the left side, just a little each time, growing it each time. So first it might come up to your waist, and then eventually up to the ribs on your left. And eventually more to the middle of your chest, up to the left side of your neck. And it's very light, but it's almost as though your hand has never really taken the time to get to know the body it's connected to. So there's also this background curiosity. Oh, this is what these clothes feel like today. And, oh, that's the difference between my waist, where there's not a lot of bones, and going across my ribs. Or, oh, my sternum feels a lot different than my ribs. Maybe you can feel when you cross over that collarbone, it's very different than the ribs, even though it's organized in a similar position of being vertical, or I guess horizontal. And eventually up the left side, or the right side of your neck. We're doing the left hand, right? So your hands just traveling up, sort of the right side, sort of center, at the left side of the neck. Maybe touching all the way over, the right side. It's not what I say, it's what I mean. So we're crossing over, the opposite side. The shoulder, the right side of the face. And at a certain point, just go ahead and let your arm rest again at your side. Let your legs down long. And feel the imprint now of your body in the warm, sunny, soft sand of some beautiful island. And just settle into the possibility of sensing now the left arm, the left shoulder, the left side of your neck, maybe even the left side of your face, that you feel the qualities differently from the right side. Although one could say this is a movement about the arms, notice if there's any changes down into the low back or the pelvis, the right and left legs. And then again, bend your knees up and come back to the same movement, left arm, turning it up and then down and bringing it across your left hip, your lower abdomen towards the right side, traveling up the right side of your body. At a certain point across your trunk, you'll notice that your hand might even just naturally want to turn. You can keep it flat so the fingers are downward on your body. There's a place where they might just want to turn upward as you come into your upper chest, your shoulder, the right side of your neck, the right side of your face and your forehead, across your right ear, just exploring that movement. And how lazy can you make it? Imagine that your arm feels like it weighs 20 pounds. And thank goodness your body is there, because you might not actually be able to lift your arm if you had to. And so you're just draping it up, and you're feeling all the different sensations and textures from your clothes to your skin, to the tissues and bones beneath your skin. And as you move your arm and you're connecting possibly to more available movement in your neck, in your ribs, in your spine, in your head, notice also, is there anything about your waist, your pelvis, or your legs that somehow knows that your arm is moving, that is influenced? Does one foot just shift pressure into the floor slightly to give you a little more support to drape your arm and hand across your trunk? And if you can perceive that, just use that. You might notice that the weight shifts a little bit more towards the right side of your pelvis. You may or may not feel just a subtle helping, a subtle stabilizing and pressing through your left foot. You don't need to make it happen, but just know that there might be a possibility of feeling that connection. And then continue taking the hand up across the right side of your face, and as it leaves the top of your head, see if you can find the floor above your head to where your hand is supported, and you may be able to eventually extend your arm and elbow out to the side of you, bringing it around and back down to the side. Remembering that this is not a shoulder stretch or shoulder range of motion, so moving completely within your comfortable range. It may not be possible for some people to really find or touch the floor above their head with their hands, so just let your hand float circularly going out to the side in the air, but imagining just that effortless quality, keeping the arm light so that you're making circles. Left arm across to the right, feeling that natural place where it wants to turn upward, draping it across your face, off the top of your head, up and around to the side. And again, maybe just pausing every once in a while. In fact, next time your arm is at your side, go ahead and take a full rest. You can keep your knees bent or let them go long. And just pause. Feldenkrais rests are always fascinating. You get more rest in Feldenkrais than you do in aerobics or yoga. Well, maybe not yoga. But we're resting the mind's capacity to attend to movement as much as anything, because we're obviously not short of breath. Although this is always a really good time to listen and see if maybe you are overdoing it physically. Are you listening to the allowing of as much effortless, non-pushing movement in your body as is possible? But for many people, the mind is really well trained to pay attention to tasks, to to-dos, to unconscious programs, stories that we have learned to tell ourselves about what we can and can't do, should or shouldn't do, need, must do. I'm not real attuned to how am I right now in this moment. Because this now moment is usually far more pleasant and wonderful than your mind allows you to experience. So coming back to the left hand, same movement, crossing it, rolling it towards your body, draping it across the right side of your trunk, your shoulder, your neck, your face, your head. And just feeling that full circular movement and feeling it throughout the whole of you. How does your neck want to participate? What happens in your ribs and your spine? What movement is possible down into your pelvis, your hips, and your legs? And even if you don't feel the movement in your pelvis and legs, maybe imagine, what would it feel like if I really was feeling that connection throughout the whole of me? And wherever you are, just stop and just feel how much support are you letting your arm have. And then continue. Stop. And just feel right where you are, wherever you're stopped, what's working. Are you anticipating the next movement, or are you feeling right where you are in this moment? And then continue. What's that like? Are you always anticipating where the hand is going? Or is it possible to develop the capacity to feel where it is right now in relation to your shoulder, your trunk, and the rest of you? And play with that, just pausing at different points and feeling, where am I right now? Where's my breathing? Where's the rest of my body? My jaw soft? Just periodically pausing at different intervals. And then a couple times reverse the direction. And again, notice, are you just going through the motion of the reverse direction, or are you feeling, what's it like to go this way as opposed to the way I've been cultivating during the rest of this lesson? Am I feeling the different rotations in your arm, the different sensations of your hand touching your head and your body on its way down? And then just bring your arm to your side and rest. Now really feeling any differences that you can notice between the right and left sides. And if there is some discomfort, which sometimes there may be in the shoulder or the neck, can you look past the discomfort? For people who have been experiencing pain, especially if it's been for some time, the brain has a highly developed atlas quality of noticing every little aspect of pain. And see if you can look past that to feel just the differences in other qualities of sensation, other aspects of your experience, the weight of your arms, the contact of the back of your shoulder blades, your lower back, how you experience your face, the right and left sides. Then a couple times, just turn the left arm up and down and just feel it kind of flopping up and down. You can bend your knees up if you lengthen them. And then switch to the right side and feel what is it like to introduce yourself to motion through the right arm. Just rotating in the shoulder, letting it rest on the floor, and flipping it palm up and palm down. And then maybe try the left side one or two more times, just comparing. Maybe do both of them at the same time once or twice. And then a couple times lift the whole left arm, just a couple inches off the floor, 2 or 3 inches, and flop it back down. Feel the quality. Does it feel light or heavy? More or less effort than when we started? And then try the right side. So how many of you feel a difference, a substantial or moderate difference between the left or right side? Just kind of raise your hand from the elbow up. Good, good. And then a couple of you don't, so that's normal. Especially if the newer you are to really noticing distinctions. In many ways, our medical system has actually trained us to try to think we're symmetrical and think we don't feel different. And so to really sink into the appreciation of the normal asymmetries, the normal differences in sensation that are available is a new skill that you're developing. So bringing your attention to that right hand, begin the same exploration. Starting very small, just rolling it up and down, letting your breath be full and your jaw be soft. As you roll it up and down and begin to engage in some movement, sliding that right hand towards your trunk, can you simultaneously feel the rhythm of your breath? Can you simultaneously, almost as if the breath is guiding the movement, the quality of moving your arm is as easy and natural as breathing in and breathing out. How little can you move the arm and still feel it into the shoulder blade or the ribs or the neck? How much perception can you have with the smallest degree of movement down into your pelvis and legs? And just keep growing that movement of the right arm till it's crossing your lower abdomen towards the left side. Feeling all the textures, all the differences. Often the gift for people who have been in tragic situations is getting to re-experience their body again, their movement, their ability to engage in life. So many things that we just take for granted. And there's a sensual quality to this lesson. It's okay to take care of others, to sacrifice, to make them feel good, especially those of us that are caregivers, that to enjoy the sensation of touching, caressing, really feeling our own skin, our own bodies, our own sensations. So for some people it can feel selfish or indulgent. And yet what do we really have to give to others that we can't give to ourselves? Rest whenever you need to. Continue whenever you're ready, drawing the arm up the left side, across the left shoulder, the neck, the face and head, out the top of the head, extending in that big arc out to the side. Let your neck be soft, your breath be full. And really make sure this doesn't turn into a shoulder stretching range of motion exercise. You know, some of you may get your arm up to chest level and then make the circle from there. You may not ever go up to the shoulder, the face, the top of the head. And that circle's enough. That's enough. Wherever you are today is just fine. And trying to be someplace other than where you are is mental torture. Next time your arm is down at your side, just rest. Feel if the left and right sides are becoming more similar in the qualities, relaxation, softness, weight, pressure into the floor, the imprint into the sand. And then take the right hand and begin to make a circle, same circle, crossing it, bringing it towards your body, crossing it over. And then just as it begins to leave the top of your head, begin the same motion with your opposite hand. So first one hand, and then as that hand is circling down, out to the side and around, then let the other hand begin. And can you feel both arms at the same time? Can you feel one hand touching you, leaving you, finding the floor, while simultaneously really appreciating the senses beneath the other hand? Can you feel the movements in the shoulders, in the ribs, in your neck, being influenced by both sides? And if your knees aren't bent up, go ahead and bend them up. It's easier to feel how the pelvis is being influenced, how the feet may want to help and participate and join in the playful exploration. And then what if you were to take one arm actually at a different pace, a different speed than the other arm? So one arm might be going relatively fast while the other arm is going slower. So they're asynchronistic. And can you do this while breathing? Got a few chuckles there. Good. And then keep taking one of your arms in the same direction and see if you can take your other arm in the opposite direction. And most of you will notice, if you can do this, then they immediately synchronize again. And again, how much of yourself can you feel? Does your mind have to shift, right arm, left arm, to check where they are? Can you just start to let go and open up into the wholeness of the movement? And then reverse directions. So the arms are still going opposite directions of each other, but you're going the opposite way you were just going. And breathing. Feeling as deeply into the rest of your physical sensations as is available to you. And when you're ready, let your arms down to your side. Let your legs down. Turn your left arm up and down a little bit. Just feel the quality of saying hi to your left arm now compared to your introduction of yourself to your movement at the beginning of the lesson. And then your right arm, just turning it up and down. And then you can try the little lifting a couple times on the left, feeling the quality. Has anything changed? And what is it that's changed? How does your shoulder connect to the floor, your neck, your ribs, the right arm, both arms? Just up and plop them back down. And then just really feel that imprint into the imaginary sand again. The back of your head, the back of each of your shoulder blades, the weight, the length, the impression of your arms, left and right. Feel the space of your low back now. Has that changed? Now remember, this was an arm lesson. Not really. They're all brain lessons. And the legs, each of your legs, feel them, their imprint. And then stay with this self-observing quality with yourself. And take your time, rolling to your side. You may want to sit for a few moments. Just feeling. Stay in that quality of noticing sensation. When you're ready, you can bring yourself up to standing. Stand for a few moments, noticing what's available. And then walk around. Don't rush into anything. See what you can actually name for yourself, maybe out loud to the group at class, as sensations. And can you maybe write them down? Write down 1 or 2 or 3 sensations. Put them on your bathroom counter and reactivate those qualities in yourself throughout the day, throughout the week. And have a wonderful day.